the first time that I saw him, he was sitting on a piano stool. I said, I tell you, man, when does the fun begin? He just winked his eye and said, he wears a red bandana, plays a groove.
What's going on, compadritos? Today we're going to be talking about the model 1910 Mexican Mauser. Before I begin, I would like to just get rid of some doubt before we begin. Now, for anyone that says, well, what does Cavazos know about Mausers? He wasn't in 1910. He never fought with this. So what does he know? Well, let me give you a little quick rundown of my background before we begin, shall we?
Sí, I'm Mexican, I can say what's up, nigga. ¿Qué pasa, güey? ¿Qué pasa, vato? You saw shit. Hey, you saw shit. Hey, you saw?
The model 1910 Mexican Mauser was chosen for my first YouTube video because I ended up purchasing this weapon. It is a military issued, so it was issued to the Mexican military. And as I started doing some research on it, I realized that there's not enough information about the Mexican Mausers on YouTube. So I would just like to add my little grain of salt in it. So here's my video. But before I continue on with that, a little quick background about the Mexican Mauser and how it came about in service. So right around like the 1850s, there was a general that became president or got pushed all the way to presidency. Later became a dictator. His name was Porfirio Diaz, and the object of Porfirio Diaz at the time was to make the Mexican army a force to be reckoned with. However, at the time, the Mexican military was fighting off with pretty much anything they could get their hands on. It was more of a rural police, so they had Remington rolling blocks and so many different designs to include the Mauser. Not the 1910 though. They had earlier versions of the Mauser. I believe, if I recall correctly, they would purchase them from the Spaniards and the Germans. This is a German design. People know the Mauser for the German manufacturer. However, the Germans decided to start manufacturing these rifles in 8mm. Well, in Mexico, they did not like that. They wanted to go with 7mm because that's what they had most. So they actually ended up purchasing the 7mm Mausers from Spain. Right around the 1910s though, right around the 1910, Porfirio Diaz, the dictator slash president, decided to open up election for the people. He said, hey, you know what? 30 years has been a long time, and I'm a fair guy. I'm a fair guy, guys. Let's open up elections. So we'll see who wins then. People are gonna love me. People of my government love me. So little did he know, he was gonna lose. So what he decided to do was, hey, you know what? I think if I just go ahead and start killing off all the opposing candidate parties, then maybe they won't win. And that's what he tried to do. So by doing that, he actually caused a lot of people to revolt against him. There was a lot of people that were not happy with the fact that he opened up election and then said, hey, you know what? I'm just going to start killing everyone that opposes me. So two main forces gathered up and they fought him. Well, again, let me step back two little steps real quick. 1, 2, just kidding. So if you guys recall in history, World War I started. As that was going on, most of the Mausers that the Mexicans would purchase from different countries were either going to the war efforts or countries in the war efforts. So what that caused, it caused Porfirio Diaz, the general, to start manufacturing the Mauser in Mexico. There's 2 factories that ended up producing the arms. And this soon became the standard issue for the Mexican military right around the 1910s. Now, during the 1910 is when the revolution started. And the Mexican forces or the government forces had this specific Mauser. This was the highest technology you could get when it came to firepower at the time. As far as rifles go, I know that nowadays modern rifles, when you look at him with 30-round magazine, semi-automatic, pretty quick, yeah, that wasn't back in the day, guys. So this weapon was it. This was the top tier weapon. This is what you wanted to have. Other than that, you also got issued a canana, which is a bandolier. However, this one that I have right now is a type of bandolier, but the Mexican forces did not have this one. They had ones that would have individual sections for clips to go into the actual rifle. So this Mauser design, as you open it up, you're able to add a full clip. That's right, a clip into the magazine. You put it in there and you're able to rack it forward. Now, the one that I have is a canana with individual 7mm rounds. This was very popular within the rebel forces that were fighting the government forces, because those guys did not have this type of weapon that allowed them to filter multiple rounds at a time with a clip. Most of the rebel forces had either Remington rolling blocks, which were in the same caliber, 7mm, or they had lever actions. So if you look at any YouTube videos or do some research on Google, you will see most of them, the rebel forces with lever actions. And that's pretty fascinating, because there's been songs that were made about lever actions, more specific to 30-30. And that weapon, when you think about it, like, okay, so the rebel forces had lever actions and the government forces had Mausers. Why was that? Well, if we look back in history, again, as people opposed the dictator, Porfirio Diaz, they ended up having to go to America to purchase their weapons to fight in their efforts. Now, there could have been multiple things going on. There could have been people actually going to the US, purchasing weapons and bringing them back across, or, I don't know, but maybe the US just supplied the rebel forces with arms and helped them out there. But that's none of my business. I'm pretty sure the ATF knows about giving guns to Mexico. But anyways, back to this. So that's very fascinating, because as far as the rebel forces goes, you will see more of the lever actions, but you will also see them carrying these Mausers. Now remember, people couldn't purchase these Mausers. It wasn't like you could just go to a gun shop and be like, hey, I want to buy this Mauser. It didn't work like that. The way to get a Mauser was to basically kill off a government official, a government soldier, and then you pick them up, you battlefield pick them up, you know? And that's why you will see a lot of pictures with rebels with the 1910 Mexican Mausers. I think that's also a very fascinating topic, to realize that being a rebel soldier while carrying the Mauser was a sign of respect, was a sign of hardship among the rebel forces, because they essentially would be carrying an arsenal that had to be picked up from a dead Mexican soldier. I also like to talk about, now since I talked about my canana, the bandolier that I have, I'm also going to talk about the hat. Many people don't realize what the hat was for, so I would like to just give a quick explanation on them. So the hat is large to be able to block the sun, so it covers you, helps you not get burned. At the same time, the brim is tall. Well, the brim, what it does, it helps my head stay cooler. There's a little bit more airflow. Another interesting fact is that the sombrero, the hat, could be used as a water retrieval. So you would dip it into the river water source and you would give it to your horse if needed. Pretty cool fact. Lastly, now that we're talking about facts, I would like to talk about another cool fact. So many people know the word chingon. And chingon in Spanish, more specifically in Mexican, means a badass. Now, not a lot of people know this, but that word was created from the Mexican Revolution. How did that come about? Let me explain. When the Mexican forces would purchase machine guns from the US, either Colt or Browning, on the side of the receivers, they would say Browning machine gun. Browning machine gun. The Mexicans, speaking Spanish, will read it as machingon. Machingon. He has the machingon. Okay. Okay, too easy. Now, I know I already spoke on this being the top tier weapon, but if you have a machine gun, you are an extreme force multiplier at that point. So, if you have a machine gun and you're knocking out 400 rounds per minute, you're a badass. You are the más chingón, you know? So that's where that word came about. And it's pretty cool to know that up to this date, we still say that, the badass, the chingón, referring to the person that would normally carry machine guns on the battlefield and use them against whatever forces they were encountering. The rebel forces would have the same heavy machine guns, but they were not purchased. They were, again, taken from government forces after the battle was over with. So that's another quick fact about the Mexican Revolutionary War, and pretty cool to know that we still use that to date. Now, speaking on the rifle itself, this thing is a complete beast. It is very accurate. It is not too heavy. Obviously a little bit heavier than your modern day rifles, but not too heavy, knowing that it's completely made out of wood. It does have these adjustable sights, and these sights, you can bring them up or down depending on what distance you're trying to aim at. And it's also cool because it has a safety. Now, I don't know what you would want to call this, but this thing has a lever safety. And the way that this lever works is when the lever is all the way to the left, you're allowed to work the action back, push it forward, lock it, and engage the trigger, and it will fire. When the lever is pushed or moved towards the middle position, you're able to move the action, but whenever you press the trigger, it will not fire a round. That is pretty cool because it would be in a position to say it's like an amber status, right? So you're able to put a round in there, but the safety is still on. So just in case if you do press the trigger, it's not going to go off. Now, if you would move that lever all the way to the right, you are able, it would be completely locked. So you're not able to move or work the action or press the trigger. So you could have a round in there. You can travel with that round and be sure that the rifle is not going to make any sort of movement or fire without you're wanting to. So we got 2 in the A zone on this one. We'll say 2 Charlies and 1 Delta, and the time was about 10:92. Could have been a little bit faster, a little bit better shots. Okay, so here we have Fawns. He's gonna give it a try. Same challenge. He's gonna start knocking them out into target A and target B. See how fast he can shoot him and see his accuracy. Not locking? Okay. You ready? Stand by. Is that it?
Yeah.
All right, awesome. So time 17:38. 17:38. Hey. Okay, so we have one Delta.
Yep. Hey, in my defense, I'm a lefty, all right?
Yeah. Looks like one Charlie, one Delta. Not bad for someone that has never shot this gun before.
And a lefty.
And a lefty, wrong-handed. All right, that pretty much sums it, guys. This is my first YouTube video. Don't roast me too much. But I do think it's awesome that being from a border town such as Laredo, we have a lot of people that are descendants from Mexican people, and we're very proud of it. And it's a true honor to be able to hold this rifle, knowing that it was held by someone in the Mexican military, managed to find its way up north, crossed a river and a country, and now it's on my hands and I was able to shoot it. So with that being said, guys, I want to say thank you for watching this video. It's my first one, so don't roast me too much. And if you do, I don't care. Stay strapped or get clapped.